Hello, this is Dragonic Empire here, and we have a discussion video talking about Catastrophic Outbreak, or Set 13, which is coming out in a couple of weeks. So
What's the due date for it in the English?
It's May the 2nd, I believe.
Oh, let me just verify this.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's May the 2nd.
I'm pretty sure it's about May the 2nd.
Yeah. So we're gonna go through
May 2nd.
We're gonna go through the clans from the set one by one, all 8 of them. So being the first one in the set, we're gonna talk about Angel Feather first. And the main card for the set is Freeing Up Celestial Ramiel Reverse. Do you have any thoughts on this, Inferno?
I personally don't like this card that much, to be honest. It's okay.
Yeah, I do agree. I like the defensive side of the card, but for me, it really doesn't feel like it fits in with Angel Feather's playstyle. And one of the weird things I've noticed about this deck is you don't really retire one of their units. You swap it with one card in their damage, and if they've got all face down damage, you basically give them a Freak Out Blast.
Pretty much.
Plus, as well, I've noticed the power boost. You're getting 5k to everything on the front row, whereas Zerekiel gives 3k to everything, and if you've got 6 units anyway, that's plus 6k to everything. Well, plus 6 to each row anyway.
Okay.
Rows and columns, all confusing. Sure. Let's see.
Fair enough. I mean, they're getting more specific Celestial cards to help them swap in the set as well, aren't they?
Yeah, and also with this deck, one little thing is depending on the break ride a little bit as well.
Okay.
Not a huge fan of that, because you need to get the cross ride off, and there's another way to do it. Okay, the next card is Emergency Celestial Danielle. This is the card that if it's in your damage zone, you can Catalyst Bomb when you take another damage, and you can call it to Rearguard Circle, then mill the top card of your deck into damage to replace it. Okay. So, I suppose if you did do a weird Celestial, what's the card now, Shamshield, if you did like a Shamshield Celestial build, I suppose you could like take 2 damage that sense, and then get a free Rearguard to intercept with. But besides that, it's not a bad card to get yourself an extra interceptor or attacker.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Okay, and finally the third card that's really worth mentioning is Nursing Celestial Narelle. This is basically, it's a grade 1 7k no seal. When you're playing, you've got a Celestial, you can swap a card from your hand and your damage, simple as that. So it means Celestials can now play a bit more like the typical Angel Feather.
Play a bit more of their main gambit, which is damage swapping.
And with no seal, it was never really great to run it in great quantities, and with this card, you can probably afford to run it in 4 because it's a 7k booster.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next clan we want to cover is Great Nature, I believe.
That is indeed correct.
Okay. So obviously the big card from the set is School Punisher Leopold Reverse, and his cost is very, very cheap. It's you lock one of your Great Nature units, and 2 of your other Great Nature units gain 4k power, but then they retire at the end.
Yep.
Best part about this is when they come back, when they get retired at the very end, you can call them back.
So they effectively don't retire at all?
They do retire because Great Nature has some gambit, so when cards are retired, combined with the break ride is when those 2 cards retire, you draw 2 cards, then they come back.
But then they come back, so you just draw 2 cards essentially?
Well, you gain 8k on each of those rearguard units when they attack, and at the end, they get retired, you draw 2, then they come back, and you've lost nothing from that.
So technically, at the end of this all, you just draw 2 cards, you get an extra boost.
Yeah,
you don't lose any cards at all.
Don't really lose any cards, but you lock 1 unit, so you're losing a bit of pressure, but that's really it if you get the break right off. It's a big
doesn't
turn.
really matter anymore, I don't think.
No, it's a very big turn. I'd even argue it's a better break ride than Tachi's in that sense.
Blasphemous. No, it is actually very good, actually. It's not a break ride either, just to correct you there. It's not a break ride.
Honorary Professor Chat Noir.
Oh, I'm reading Leopard Reverse. Oops.
No, when you ride it over Chat Noir, you get the break ride effect, so that when things are retired, you get to draw. She's very, very nice. Let's see, what else was there to cover? Gotcha. Okay, there's not really much else to cover apart from the fact that they get a 3rd set of crits in this set. I don't believe I know the actual card itself. Let's see. Oh, it's this, Hold a Hedgehog. So yeah, they can now effectively play 12 crits in the deck, so with those 8k pressure columns, the 8k plus their 9s, and I don't really know what they have to attack with, I'm assuming they have some 12ks of some sort. Let's see.
Do they? I don't think so, not in Great Nature.
Possibly Compass Line, that's an 11k, grade 2 unit.
Yeah, but I don't think Great Nature have an archetype, so they don't really have
They don't have to
4K swingers and stuff.
Okay. Oh, they do have Binoculars Tiger, actually.
Okay.
Okay, so they do have some decent attacking units to make use of
they're
the extra
decent
pressure and the
attacking.
crits. So it's going to be a very, very early game deck, I guess. It's going to have a very powerful turn when he gets Limit Break.
Yeah.
And then it might lose momentum after that, sadly.
That is a problem.
But overall, it seems like it's going to be a pretty decent deck.
Yeah, it's nice to see them finally getting some support, actually.
Actually, it's very, very few cards, but it really works for the deck. It's going to be a lot like Grand Blue. The third set.
We all know how much you love Grand Blue.
Oh, God, I love Grand Blue. Okay, the third one we're going to cover is Nova Grappler, I believe.
I thought it was Nubatama.
Oh, we can go Nubatama, that works.
Okay, on to the
there
Nubatama
we are.
stuff.
And there's, as you can see here, there's very little for them. But enough to build a pretty decent deck.
There's very little for them, but it's quite nice to see them finally getting some additional.
Oh yeah, this card's going to see some use. Stealth Dragon Dreadmaster.
Just 12 sets later.
Yeah.
So we finally get a break ride, which catches them right up to the current meta, so...
That would be a Sure Stealth Dragon, I believe.
Sure Stealth Dragon, Kuji, Kirakongo.
I'm not going to try and say that.
Kirakongo. So yeah, he's a pretty decent break ride, pretty standard stuff there, plus 10,000.
Gains 10k, your opponent chooses a card and discards it. Then they choose a card and bind it. They get that card back at the end of the turn, they've essentially lost...
Yeah, but they lose 2 cards to guard with for the turn.
That is a big problem for them, especially if you've got like, very much a power play on that turn.
Yep, and the other grade 3 they have is Sure Stealth Dragon, Kabuki Kongo.
Oh yeah. I thought there were more syllables there, I was just trying to read that to myself.
I mean, these guys are pretty counterblast efficient, they counterblast 1. When attacks bind all of your opponent's rear guards, just like Lawkeeper.
Yeah.
Pretty handy.
I almost said Lawbreaker again.
And it gets an additional 10,000. So combo that with the break ride, it can be very, very deadly.
That is nice.
And it's got a bog standard ability of Counterblast 1. This unit gets plus 2,000. So you can hit 13k, I guess, but I can't really see you using that ability all that much.
I think it's a bit circumstantial. If you know your opponent doesn't have a null guard, and for example you've got an 8k booster or something behind him, do they have 8ks?
Nubatama.
Let's see. Oh, they do have 8ks, yeah, they're getting one in this set.
Yeah,
Stealth Rogue Under the Moon.
They get a basic skeleton for their death.
That's good.
Which we never got back in set 1.
No, we had Stealth Beast,
In
Chigasumi,
set 1 we had
Dreadmaster.
about 2 cards which are useful, really.
Yeah, we got Hagakure here, the Stealth Beast.
Let's go to one of the useful ones. We got Stealth Dragon Dreadmaster.
Oh yeah, such a good card.
Grade 1 booster from set 1.
So that's when it's Counterblast 1, when the attack hits during a battle that this unit boosted.
Yeah.
You can make your
If the
opponent
number of
discard a
cards in your
card.
hand is less than your opponent's, you can force your opponent to discard.
So they're probably going to have to guard this, or they're going to have to lose a card.
So they lose a card either way. So
May as well guard it. It's going to be a lot of pressure.
yep, it forces your opponent to use those guard plays. And alternatively, on your turn, you've got Stealth Beast Hakagure, which is like a grade 0 10k shield.
That's nice.
When this unit is placed on the Guardian Circle, if you have a Nubatama Vanguard and the number of cards in your hand is less than your opponent's, Counterblast 1 and they are forced to discard a card.
That's pretty good if you're in a bad situation. So if
So
you start to run out of guard.
you're forcing them to come down to your level of cards in hand, let's say. Because when you put this in the Guardian Circle, it's no longer in your hand. So your hand size has gone down, which means you're more likely to
Catch them off guard.
feel the cost of having less cards in your hand than your opponent, which makes them force a card out of their hand.
I've noticed one problem is so far they've only got a vanilla set of triggers.
Yeah, but that's better than nothing.
Oh no, it's definitely better than nothing, but do you know if they're getting any other sets? Because as far as this program I've got here is, it's updated to about set 14, I think. Do you know if they're getting any more support?
I don't think so. It'd be nice to see more triggers.
Yeah, like if they were able to play like a second set of criticals or maybe draws, that'd be pretty good.
That'd be pretty handy for them.
Is there anything else to cover in Nubatamas?
Apart from those 2 grade 3s and 2 stuff from set 1, no. So on to our next plan, which is...
Grand Blue.
the fan favourite.
It's not that bad. And as you can see on here, this is kind of like a... I wouldn't say it's a provisional deck list, I still need to make a few more edits to this. But this is kind of what I would try and test with, it's not what I'd necessarily play. But anyway, the important cards in the set for Grand Blue, arguably, are Ice Prison Law, the Kaka's Reverse card, the Break Ride we got here, and a new draw engine, possibly, for Banshee of Seawalk.
It's like a better Cutlass, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of is. If you can revive it, it's a better Cutlass, but Cutlass, of course, you can play from your hand and works in any scenario.
Yeah, but you revive Cutlass half the time anyway, so...
It's true, but if you happen to top deck into it... So
I suppose if you top deck into it, it's not exactly the greatest thing in the world.
No, if you got Banshee off the top deck, it's not great. But obviously it's a much fairer cost than Cutlass. You only have to Soul Blast 1 when it's revived, instead of Soul Blast 2.
And it's a 6k booster as well, isn't it?
Which isn't bad, especially if you've got some other high attacking units you want to push the power up a little bit.
Yep.
But mainly the main grade 3 in the deck is obviously the Reverse card. It's a very fair cost. You lock one, you mill 3, and you basically choose anything in your drop zone, revive it, and it gains 3k power.
Okay.
And you don't necessarily have to have anything in your drop zone when you use the ability to start with. You can mill, and choose one of those milled cards too. Plus obviously has the standard ability when it's on top of Kaitis, gains 2k.
Standard cross ride there.
Yeah. The only problem I have with it is that it doesn't have an effect when it's boosted, so it's kind of...
Yeah, but I think that's the trade-off for it, because what I noticed with Grand Blue, they lacked a bit of defense.
They did.
Because they had a 10k grade 3 Vanguard.
But there are like so many other decks that can put out like the same sort of... They can sit on cross right and put up so much power at the same time.
Yeah. So
granted with this you get extra rearguard pressure, which is nice. But the only other way you're going to hit 21 is cross-ridden on top of Kakatis with an 8k booster behind you. Yeah. Unless of course you play Evil Shade, which isn't amazing. You're going to kill yourself faster.
Yeah, especially when you're milling Kaka's Reverse.
I mean, milling 2 every turn with Evil Shade is a bit of a trade-off. Granted, he's much more consistent in this deck, and I would argue against playing Ruin Shades. Because even though it's a decent card on its own, milling 2 extra cards...
Milling too much, you'll deck out way too quickly.
So I would argue the trade-off in this deck is to swap out Ruin Shades for the new card we're getting. Corrosion Dragon, Corrupt Dragon. Obviously I wasn't a big fan of this at first, but this is the closest thing Grand Blue has to a 12k booster.
Okay.
So when it's revived, called to the rearguard, it gains 3k for that turn. Plus with Kaka's Reverse, it gains another 3k. So it basically sits on base 15. Now, if that's sitting in front of a Banshee of Seawalk, that's 21k column right there, which isn't bad for a rearguard.
Fair dues.
Okay. And lastly, the Cross Ride. Lord of the Seven Seas Night Mist.
That's the Break Ride.
That is the Break Ride indeed. Did I say Cross Ride?
Yeah, you did say Cross Ride.
My bad. So basically, when a Grand Blue rises unit, you choose one of your Vanguards, that gains 10k, and you choose up to 2 Grand Blue units, you call them. They gain 5k but retire at the end of the turn. Now if you combine that with Kaka's Reverse, you can choose to lock those 2 units, so they don't get retired at the end of the turn. Of course you lose the power, but you basically gain 4 extra units for the cost of milling 2 and Break Riding. Or milling 6 cards with them twice.
Gonna be milling a lot in that turn.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot, but you basically refill your whole field. But I'm not such a big fan of this because obviously I very much like consistency in Grand Blue, but relying on having the Break Ride and then getting the card to Break Ride on top of it it's not bad. It's a very good pressure turn, but I feel like there are better cards that go up in Night Mist. For example, the card we're getting
he could be a deck in himself, to be fair.
For example, the card we're getting in Fighters Collection 2014, I can imagine me using him with that, because you can force a you can force a Break Ride from the damage zone. The drop zone.
The damage zone?
Wow, I'm getting...
We've gone off Angel Feather, dude.
I know, I'm so confused today, I don't know what it is. Okay, so we finished with Grand Blue. Oh, one last thing actually. Peter the Ghosty is the new starter they're getting. It's Counterblast 1, you put 2 cards from the top of your deck into the drop zone, you put him in your soul and draw 1. So you essentially break even for the opportunity to mill 2.
Okay.
Which is okay. In some decks where you need a more calculated mill, like Night Kid for example, it's not as good, but I think in some decks where random milling doesn't hurt, it's definitely a better starter.
Does he have any Counterblast cost?
Peter the Ghosty, yes.
Oh, he's Counterblast as well.
Just a tad bit of a shame, but...
Yeah, otherwise he would have worked quite well with Basket, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely would. But obviously if you run damage and flippers, you probably get one of those hits off by turn 2.
You'd hope so.
Oh, if you're running 4 of the Pietros, you're bound to get 1 and flip off by the time you're about to use Basket. If
Fair
you
enough.
only use Peter the Ghosty. Either way, moving on, we've got Nova Grapplers now.
Grappler.
Okay.
So, of course, we're getting 2 cross break rides in this set.
I have to scroll down just for this. We've got so much to pull off.
So, on to the normal one first, which is Ethics Buster Extreme.
Okay. Give me a chance to find that. Among the other grade 3s, I can see the reverse one. Ah, there we are, Ethics Buster Extreme.
Yep. Apparently he's the strongest.
Apparently.
Strongest Ethics Buster Extreme. Okay, basically he's like a better version of a Shurikaiser, if you will. Where at Limit Break, if you drive check anything
that's not a trigger,
you get to stand up a rear guard.
It's pretty good.
It's not too bad, no. That means, let's see. On top of the brake ride, you attack with the rear guard units first. You'll stand up the front row with the brake ride.
Sure. And then you've got the possibility
if you get 2 non-triggers, you stand up the boosters as well. So you can get 5 full power attacks.
Okay. So I guess that's an interesting trade-off to the card we're going to talk about next.
Yep. So this one could potentially get you 5 attacks at full strength.
And 2 Vanguard attacks, I believe.
And no, this one can only get you 1 Vanguard attack.
Oh, we're still talking about the other one. Right, my bad.
Okay, on to the other one, which is the reverse unit, which a lot of people seem to be hyped about.
I kind of don't blame them, to be honest.
Again, another cross break ride. This one apparently being the deadliest beast deity.
I would argue that's correct.
Yeah, okay, so for all you who don't know his skill, Counterblast 2. Choose 2 cards with beast deity in your hand, discard them. Choose 2 of your Nova Grappler rear guards and lock them. And at the end of this turn, that this unit attacked, it can stand back up.
And combine that with break ride.
With the break ride, you can get 8 attacks in 1 turn.
So when he chooses to stand up again, once your rear guards are tapped, they're just going to get restood?
Yep, from the break ride effect.
I suppose it does require a little bit of setup, because you're going to need units that are about at least 10 to 11k to be able to hit their
it requires setup because you're going to be locking units. So your attacks on the rear guards aren't going to be the strongest.
No. They'll be the deadliest, but they won't be the strongest.
That's the trade-off, but you're attacking with a grey amount of number. You're attacking 8 times, if you get this set up perfectly.
Oh, it's nice.
Which, yeah, so, like, it can be just as deadly as the other one. The other one you're getting 5 full power attacks.
But this, I'd argue,
you're getting 8 little attacks.
But with this, you're getting 2 Vanguard attacks that are both break-ridden, so I know you're discarding 2, which makes it fair, but think about the amount of guard your opponent's having to use to guard 21k Vanguard attacks.
That's the only thing, though, because it's a bit situational being a break ride, because, like, you're not going to get the break ride in every game. Being
necessarily, no.
But if you do, that is the potential you can pull off, basically.
Actually, yeah, it would definitely be a pain having to ride this thing first.
Yeah, because when you ride this thing first, it's not as good.
Definitely not.
Whereas if you ride the other one first, the strongest beast deity, the non-reverse one, it's pretty decent as a first Vanguard. In its own right.
Yeah, it is, actually.
Think of it being like a Shurikaiser.
It's definitely a better Shurikaiser, but a Shurikaiser in itself is it's getting a cross ride too, isn't it?
Yeah, he is.
Obviously, that's something for a different video to talk about.
Yeah, but those were the 2 main cards from Nova Grappler. They're getting a nice beast deity trigger set, so they can play triggers to their liking now, hopefully. And another interesting card we see is the Grade 2 Beast Deity Brainy Papio.
Okay.
Basically like a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, I quite like the pressure card.
Yeah, when it attacks a Vanguard and it has to hit, right? Yeah, hit.
Once it hits, you can't blast 1 and you can restand another unit.
Okay, a special can't blast 1.
Ah, yeah.
And you can choose another of your Nova Grappler rear guards and stand it. So it's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad.
It's like a good alternative to Kirara.
Especially if you can create a Vanguard that's you don't want your opponent to be hit by it, so that they have to be forced to take rear guard attacks.
This would be very good about turn 1, turn 2. Because that's when like your opponent's Vanguard's going to be like 7, 9, 10k.
Arguably not as good as a... Oh wait, this is a Vanguard ability as well, actually.
Yep.
So if you rode it, it'd be pretty decent.
It's a pretty decent card.
Mm.
Not bad at all.
I didn't know it was the Vanguard ability, that's quite nice.
It's the same ability.
Yeah, I definitely didn't realise the Vanguard thing. But what I was going to say is I don't think it's as good in the Deadliest Cross-Ride build. When you're attacking for 8 times.
In the Deadliest Cross-Ride build, you want to have high attacking.
Unless your opponent is somehow still on 8 or 9k.
Great stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd want like rearguard units which can attack at least 11. Because if you're locking 2, yeah, it's ideal to have vanguards, to have rearguards that can actually hit the vanguard.
That's true. You do want something that's probably going to hit around 10 to 11, at least, based on their vanguard.
Minimum.
So you probably want the Beast Slayer to Hatred Chaos, which is the 12k attacker.
Yeah, and you'd want the Anglet thing, which gets 3k when it stands back up.
Oh yeah, Golden Anglet.
Yeah.
Oh wait, can that keep gaining 3k?
I don't know.
During your battle phase, when this unit stands, this unit gets power 3000 until the end of the turn. So that keeps restanding.
So it does stack, actually.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's okay, you'd ideally want to use those over Rainy Papio. But yeah, that about covers Nova, I think.
Okay, so yeah, next one on the agenda is Dimension Police.
Ooh, Dimension Police. Lovely.
So I'm assuming we're going to be talking about Dark Dimensional Robo Reverse Dayusha?
No, of course not.
Okay, we're going to talk about Original Saber Zero then.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is the important card in the set, obviously.
We get Original Saber Zero as a break ride in this set, which is quite nice.
Definitely combos well with Zeal and the Dark Dayusha.
Yeah, it fits within the theme of like the evil dimensional robos. Because standard stuff here, you get 10k when you add a grade 3 on top of it, and your opponent's Vanguard loses 5k.
Not bad.
It's not terrible, no.
But as you said before, when your opponent's losing power for the Vanguard, essentially all of your units are gaining that power, effectively.
Yeah, so basically you're giving plus 5k to each of your columns, like a Soul Saber Dragon.
Which is pretty damn good.
So yeah, it's not a bad card at all.
It's definitely when you get a lot of early damage on your opponent.
You have Daikaiser.
Oh god. Yeah, that thing's a problem.
Yep, and obviously in this set we have Dark Dimensional Robo Reverse Dayusha. Oh, this card is very, very evil.
Do you want to run us through the effects?
Okay, well you Counter Blast 1, so again, Counter Blast efficient.
Yeah,
choose 2 of your rear guards with Dimensional Robo in the name and lock them.
Not going to be hard to do.
No, and your opponent's Vanguard gets minus 10,000. So effectively, you're giving all your rear guards a plus 10,000 boost.
I believe Vanguard powers can go below 0, can't they?
I'm not sure if they can go minus.
I believe they can.
If they can, that's very, very evil. Because the most likelihood is your opponent's going to have like 11k Vanguards round about nowadays.
Oh yeah, but if you ride on top of Original Saber Zero,
so
they're
going to be
15,000.
Oh dear. But they're going to be about 11. So they're going to go down to 1k power or even 0 if they're up to 10k Vanguard. Which can really hurt.
Oh yeah.
And considering this guy can be a cross ride as well.
That's a bit of a problem.
You can just literally just sit there minusing them on power and then just attack them over and over again, because it's only Counter Blast 1, remember?
That's good.
So the amount of times you can do this in one game is insane.
Would you argue it's more important to play crits in this deck than stands? Because I've seen you try and play 50 stand in the latest build. Because obviously inherent crits, this thing doesn't have an inherent
This one doesn't have inherent crits, so I would play more critical on this version, yes. Hopefully, with any luck, we'll be able to get this deck put together sometime soon.
Yeah, it'd be great to feature on the channel. When set 13 comes around, we'll try and feature as many set 13 decks as possible, as soon as possible.
Yep. So, you know, standard cross-ride stuff here. If it's got Super Dimensional Robo Dayusha in the soul, it gets plus 2k. Which is fair enough.
Yeah, that's not bad. And obviously, arguably, the best way to use this thing is with Daikaiser.
Oh, good God.
I'm sure you realise that by now.
Yeah. The only problem I have with Daikaiser is it's not a guaranteed effect to pull off. It's very nice when you do, obviously.
But it is the extra inherent crit, and you'd be putting a lot of pressure on them to guard that attack.
Yeah, you're putting a ridiculous amount of pressure on, yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't use... I mean, obviously Original Saber Zero is going to be the budget choice, because it's not going to be as popular as Daikaiser, I believe.
At the same time, Daikaiser's from a trial deck, so it's not exactly hard to get your hands on one.
It isn't. People have to spend upwards of about 40 to 60 just to get their hands on 4.
Yeah, that's true. Original Saber Zero is not a bad alternative, though.
No, it's definitely not. If you can't get hold of Daikaisers, definitely try and play a few of these and just see how it works for you.
Reverse Daiusha is very, very cruel, because if you think about what we had before that, where we had Zeal, the grade 3 version had to Counterblast 2 for 1.
Yeah, and it loses 1,000 for each of your rear guards.
The maximum your opponent would lose is 5,000, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And you could only, because it was Counterblast 2, you could only do it about 2-3 times a game if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you don't get your ride chain up, it's going to be sitting on 10k.
So this guy you can do in excess of about 5 times in one game.
Huh. That really kind of hurt Zeal.
Yeah. So there is that.
I will say the one advantage Zeal has is obviously having a ride chain, but it's kind of...
Yeah, ride chains, they rely quite heavily on getting their grade 1 ride off, though.
I believe there's an interesting card, Die Heart, coming out in this set.
There is, the grade 2, which is only a rare in this set, yep.
That's alright.
Yeah, he's a rare. Grade 2 rare.
Yeah, it's a rare.
Huh?
Yeah, it's a rare.
Die Heart's a rare, yeah. When this guy's power exceeds 13,000, so you need to plus 4,000 to it, basically. Which is not hard to do.
No, there are cards like, it's not Die Mariner, it's...
Die Magnum.
Oh, you're going to use the starter for that, I see.
Yeah, we've got a new starter where you push him into Soul, give something plus 4,000.
Okay, I'm trying to think of the card. It's the grade... Dilander is the card.
Dilander.
Yeah.
We have Dilander as well, that is correct. Basically, you choose 2 grade 3 cards from your hand with Dimensional Robo in the name, put them into Soul, and when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, you can search your deck for 1 grade 3 Dimensional Robo and Superior Ride it at rest. Has to be at rest, unfortunately.
Yeah, but even so, if you have something like...
But that makes it fair.
You have like Daiusha in hand, that's very nice for setting up your cross ride.
Yeah, you can set up a cross ride, so you can just sit there on a 13k base.
And
if you went first, you'd be sitting on a 13k base when they're on grade 2.
That's really good.
Can be somewhat cruel. It's a very, very good card.
Arguably so, yeah. It's obviously very circumstantial having 2 grade 3s at that point, and you get the hit ability as well.
The cost you have to pay to make it 13k is not a hard cost to pull off, really.
I guess not, but it also has to hit too.
Yeah, it does have to hit, but at the same time, I think I'd use it more as pressure.
Oh god, yeah.
Because your opponent doesn't know you've got how many grade 3s you've got in hand or what.
It's essentially going to be that famous pressure turn from MLB. You know when they've got Mongol Braid behind them, you tend to got 10k.
Exactly.
It's going to be another one of those.
This one's got a worse outcome. Much worse.
Okay, so what else do Dimensional Robos get in this set? Or Dimensional Police in general,
We're getting a reprint of the stuff from the Troll deck, mostly. Okay. We get stuff like Die Driller, again. And we get the Trigger set, again. Apart from the Die Battles.
Okay, Die Battles where the...
Crits. They're from set 8.
Okay, but they're not too hard to get hold of being from set 8 and all.
Well, no, because they're from the Troll deck as well.
That's true.
Another thing we finally get is a Dimensional Robo Perfect Guard.
Oh yeah.
Which is definitely very handy if you plan to play Ultimate Daiusha, where you need to have 3 Dimensional Robos in the Soul to get his Limit Break off.
I suppose that's true.
So yeah, this set becomes very, very helpful with these guys. And, you know, I love a bit of Dimension Police.
Doesn't that? It's going to be a pretty crazy deck soon.
Yep. So that about wraps it up for Dimension Police, I think. On to next, which is Aqua Force, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. So the main card we got hyped to in the set is Blue Wave Dragon, Tetradrive Dragon. And the skill is the end of the battle between attack Vanguard. Okay. So at the second battle of that turn, it gains an ability.
But it has to attack, right?
It has to attack. But the rear guard attack, when that's the 4th one to hit, you can restand your Vanguard essentially.
Does the fourth one have to hit or not?
I believe the fourth battle of that. Let's see. Oh, it just has to attack a vanguard. Okay, that's a bit more consistent, I believe.
So the fourth battle just has to target the vanguard.
Yeah, basically just has to attack.
And then you get to restand this beast.
Yeah, and if you've happened to break ride onto the break ride, I believe the break ride is, there we are, Blue Soaring Dragon, Transcore Dragon. So
Yeah,
it'll have an extra
you're going to make your opponent discard twice.
Sorry?
Just so it doesn't become critical.
So it's going to be very much a pain. Obviously with Aquaforce it requires a little bit more setup, but in this set I've noticed they've gained a fair few more cards to help them gain their setup a little bit better.
And the Basil from set 8 is definitely going to help them.
Let's see, Basil. There we are. Awesome. Yeah, Basil's are definitely a pretty decent card. If you can get your hands on them now, I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the main cards I noticed in the set as well, which is very interesting, is Assault Wheel. Now, it's Counterblast 1. At the end of a battle, this unit boosted. If you have an Aquaforce Vanguard, you can essentially exchange the positions of 2 rearguard units. So you don't necessarily have to have Basil clones in the deck. If you run this and it boosts, you can basically swap any 2 grade 2s that happen to be in the same column.
Huh. Okay, that could definitely help them out.
So, if people don't know about this card, you obviously play Basil. It becomes a pretty big target for your opponent. He wants to kill this thing as soon as possible. Then you just play something else that has a bit more power, essentially. Like a 10k, and I believe they probably have their own 12s at some point.
Okay.
And they also have something called Tidal Assault. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you can restand it, but it loses 5k. It's grade 2 9k.
Yeah,
it essentially means you can make up for those extra attacks. Just this card on its own.
That's true. I mean, like, the attack doesn't even have to hit, it just has to target the Vanguard.
Exactly. And there are just so many things in this set that just help Aquaforce
the only problem I have with Aquaforce is they value their rearguards very, very highly.
There's a very big setup, and obviously defining their rearguards is important, but I feel like it's to be a lot more consistent with this.
It can be a lot more
set.
consistent now, yeah, that is true, but the only problem is, like, clans like Kagero and Narukami can have a field day with them.
Oh god, it's true, they have a very bad matchup.
No,
I think with enough early pressure, they could probably make up for it.
Yeah.
There are some Narukami builds that have their very key units as well, I believe.
That can be true.
For example, if they are playing for whatever reason the Vowing Sword card, that whenever a unit's retired, it gains a certain amount of power.
Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of crazy, but it's obviously going to be it's going to have a huge target on its head when it comes into the zone.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so finally, there wasn't really much to talk about in this set for Aquaforce, sadly. They've got a few extra units that add consistency, like Tidal Assault, for example. I believe that was the name of the Tidal Assault.
I don't know.
Okay, so finally, the set that everyone's going to be... Well, the clan that everyone's going to be hyping over.
Well, mainly because it's the cover card as well.
Yeah. And it's a pretty nice cover card at that, so I definitely intend to use the deck myself when it comes out.
Ugh.
You get darker than usual, I suppose that's something.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Because I get to lock 2 units and you get to retire them when I unlock them. Okay.
That sounds good, I like that.
Okay, and then draw 2 cards, okay.
Yeah, why wouldn't I? Okay, so onto the actual skill. If you're not aware of it yourself, it's when your opponent has a unit that's about to be unlocked, you can Soul Blast 1, you retire it, and you draw a card. Combine this with a Break Ride. When you get the Break Ride up, you lock 2 of their units. Yep. And with the grade 0 starts, I'm sure all Link Joker players are familiar with.
Unicorn, yeah.
Unicorn. So that's essentially 1 Counterblast cost when you Break Ride to lock 3 of their units.
Yep.
And
then at the end of their next turn, you retire 3 of their units.
By Soul Blasting 3 and drawing 3 cards.
And you leave them with a very skimpy formation as well.
It's true. Although there are other ways to play with the deck, you don't necessarily have to retire their units. You can keep them locked, you can keep stalling them out. His other effect, it's a very fair cost.
The other effect is fairer.
Yeah, you Counterblast 1 and discard a card with Starvader in its name, and you choose one of their rear guards and lock it. Which is a great ability in the sense that it's not limited as to what you can lock, because a lot of Link Joker cards say front row, back row units. So this gives you more options, and I guess if you do
speaking of front row and back row, actually, another thing which I've seen that helped Aquaforce out in recent sets is the fact that everything seems to be targeting front row units.
Okay.
And in terms of Aquaforce, like especially like Basil and stuff, he always moves into the back row.
I suppose that's true. You do protect some of your key cards
from like cards from killing him. So yeah, that's definitely trying to help them out and help them not be so affected by stuff like Narukami, because Narukami Cho.
I do feel like Aquaforce have really gone down like several tiers, like in the past couple of sets.
So hopefully this will help them
come
to the top. But anyway, I'm deterring from the Star Attraction because I really, really don't like this card spec.
I do think it's going to be a very hard deck to deal with, especially when you have the option to either let them lose their units or keep them locked.
Yeah,
so
it's a very, very control-orientated deck.
And you're going to be losing a lot of pressure off yourself, so you're gaining a lot of guards, a lot of cards in hand to play with.
Yeah.
And especially this card here is going to be very useful, Prison Starvader Palladium. Now, in a sense, you can kind of use it to boost, and it's basically the same effect as Chaos Breaker's second effect, but you don't discard, you put him in the soul. So then they can now later use him to retire more units.
Ugh.
So they're going to get a lot of decent cards to make them good.
They're already good, though.
Well, yeah, they were pretty good already, but Chaos Breaker is going to be the main thing that pushes them over the edge.
Chaos Breaker's next level.
Yeah, tier 0, sure.
And then they're going to get Glendios.
Ah, okay, right, yes. Which I don't have Glendios here, sadly, because this program's only update to set 14.
Yep.
This beautiful card, though, that I might try testing. Twin Gunner at the Binary Star.
Yeah, originally I think you said you wanted to build Twin Gunner instead of Chaos Breaker. But
I did because it seemed like a much fairer cost than some of them, but for some reason I never factored the Break Ride into Chaos Breaker.
Now you finally realised how broken Chaos Breaker can be.
It's a little broken, yeah, I'll argue that. Just a little.
Just a little.
Just a little. Link Joker also gets some very interesting clones in this set as well. They get Paradise Elk, which is essentially it's a Water Gang Operation Garmika clone. So when
it's a Counterblast 2 draw one card. That's a Maiden of Libra clone, because that was technically the first one of those.
Oh yeah, the Oracle Think Tank one.
Yeah, that was the original Counterblast 2 when it hits draw a card.
Fair enough. I do remember that back in the day. I say back in the day. Anyway, Counterblast 2 when it hits, you draw a card. It's a very good pressure card, but I feel with some of the builds such as Chaos Broker, you might have just enough space to play those, but it's going to be quite a heavy Counterblast deck because you're going to be focusing on locking units and gaining advantage that way, instead of getting early draw advantage.
Early draw advantage doesn't really mean much to Link Joker, they just want to lock units and...
I think it can and can't do. If you don't have your components, I feel like this might be a better way to get them, but at the same time it's not as good as some of the other options you have.
Definitely not.
And something else they get is Starvader Colony Maker, which is basically their Arcane clone. So if your opponent has a locked card, you play it, you Counterblast 1, and you can call a grade 1 or less Starvader to a rear.
Counterblast 1?
Yeah.
How much power has it got?
9k.
Oh my god.
And they have to have a locked unit, but you can essentially search out your Palladiums.
So what?
And any other tech grade 1 cards you have, which make it a really good card.
It's not exactly like it's a difficult task to pull off to lock something with a Link Joker.
No, I've only realised it was Counterblast 1 myself. I believed it was Counterblast 2 for a while, which is kind of what put me off it. But I'm probably going to start playing these. It's pretty good.
Oh dear, Link Joker is going to be definitely one of those decks to watch out for.
And as we haven't really mentioned, in this set, a lot of decks get extra clones, for example, like 11k attackers, like the 8k base ones, or in this case, an 8k that gains 4k when it attacks, certain things like that. But obviously with the 12k alternatives being slightly better, those cards are probably going to be a bit ignored.
Yeah, those cards get outshined, really. So, after all of this, how do you think this would change our English meta?
I think it's going to change it a lot. I'm actually really excited for this set.
I mean, they're reintroducing cross rides again in the form of cross break rides.
Yeah,
so, the cross ride format's coming back.
But we already have cross rides in the form of cross break rides with Vowing Sword from set 12.
No, we had that, but now it's definitely really pushing towards that format again.
It's true.
So, we're going to...
Because we're having Dark Dayusha, whatever sets get cross rides. We've just gone over
Dark Dayusha, we got Nova Grappler have a cross ride. Vowing Sword had a cross ride from set previous.
Can't forget Granblue.
Amon had a cross ride. And Granblue, like you just mentioned, just got a cross ride in this one.
It would be nice to see Granblue make it to the meta. I'm not so sure it's going to happen, but I'm still going to push it. I'm still going to play it at nationals, I imagine.
It will happen one day. It will happen one day.
We'll
push this.
Come on.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, as my opinion goes, I'm quite enjoying this at the moment because back when Set 6 came out, it was Gold Paladins everywhere in the English meta, anyway.
It's probably going to be Link Joker everywhere still, but like this is going to be a bit more diverse.
At least there's going to be, hopefully, I'd say, a bit of variety.
I'm not looking forward to Daikaiser and Dark Dayusha combo, that's going to hurt a lot. But as most big threats we see that come along, they tend to become manageable anyway. Like, when certain cards come out, we thought, oh, like, the end is so broken. And, like, there are ways to deal with decks like that.
It's still pretty broken, though.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's like one of the most ultimate pressure cards you can ever have out there.
I wouldn't argue that. I mean, I feel like there are a lot of clones that do the job quite well, but Kagura, in a sense, has still a fair bit of support to work around.
Have very, very good support to work around. I mean, the fact that made the end so strong was the fact that...
you never know if they're going to pull off the effect or not.
Yeah, and it wasn't restricted by limit break.
Yeah, that's pretty hard as well, because you play it not just on 2 damage.
Yeah, you can play it whenever you want. Well, so long as you got Persona Blast in hand.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think that pretty much wraps up set 13.
Yep.
Do you have any other thoughts on the set?
It's a pretty good set. It's pretty well balanced. I mean, it's nice to see Nubatama get a deck.
Oh yeah, like seeing Nubatama in the meta might be interesting.
After about 12 sets of waiting, finally get some support. So if you guys do plan on building Nubatama, make sure you dig up those set 1 commons.
Yeah, and let us know in the comment section what decks you plan to play when the set comes out.
Yeah, or what decks you don't want to play against when the set comes out.
Oh yeah, there are going to be a lot of decks like that.
Chaos Breaker.
I'm more salty about Dark Dayusha, but I suppose this is a pretty unfair card too, I'll say that.
I mean, it's nice to see Great Nature getting a bit more push as well.
Oh, definitely.
Great.
Okay, we've rambled on a little bit now, so we'll try and wrap this up.
Okay, this was our first
discussion video, so it's probably a bit lengthier than usual. We'll try and regiment these things to be a bit shorter in future so we don't bore the pants off of everyone. But what I might try and do is I'll try and create annotations so people can skip to the certain clans they like.
Yeah, that might help them definitely in future. Or try and do it.
Yeah. I'll definitely add the annotations if I can anyway. It shouldn't take too long. It'll take a few seconds.
Fair enough. As usual, like, comment and subscribe. Any feedback to this would be great.
Yeah, of course, it's our first discussion video. If you guys like it, we'll try and do more of them.
Yep, and obviously all the same stuff as before.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Okay, stop the recording.